Hey guys, how you doing? This is Steve. Welcome to Slurv. I'm going to be bringing you some cash game cornerstones for today. It's Tuesday, June 14th, and we got a pretty nice slate on the docket here today. We got a Coors Field game, which is always fun, and the pricing isn't too bad there today, actually. So let's start out there and take a look at Brian McCann. Jorge De La Rosa is pitching for the Rockies today, and that's always a good thing for opposing hitters. And the Yankees are just kind of underpriced in Coors today. McCann is 4.2 on DK and 3.7 on FanDuel. He's definitely one of my top catchers. I think I might like Salvador Perez even better against Tomlin, who's got an excellent record, like ridiculous, like 16 for 20. But I mean, BVP stuff. He does grade out well in other areas too. He's 3.4 on DK and 3.1 on FanDuel. I don't totally hate Nick Hundley, but Eovaldi, who's pitching for the Yankees, is pretty good at limiting hard contact to right-handed batters and inducing a lot of ground balls. So I'm much more interested in lefties on the Rockies. Gonna stick to just one game at my first base recommendations, and it's not Coors actually, because the Yankees don't have anybody really worth mentioning. Well, make sure that A-Rod is not in the lineup. I don't think he will be. It's a National League game, so there's no DH, and I don't see him going out and fielding, but it's possible, I guess. So I'd be interested in him if he does actually get in the lineup. But since I don't expect him to, I'm pretty interested in this Miggy versus Miggy matchup. We got Miguel Gonzalez going. We got Miguel Cabrera going up against Miguel Gonzalez, and I think this matchup goes in favor of Cabrera. 4.1 on DK, 3.8 on FanDuel. Not cheap, but not too expensive either. And I also like the other side of the matchup, Jose Abreu versus Zimmerman. Although I think Zimmerman is the superior pitcher overall. 4.0 on DK and 3.5 on FanDuel. This game's got a 9 over/under, and there should be plenty of hitting. Second base, we got Dustin Pedroia's price starting to creep down a little bit. He goes up against Tillman today, which is not an ideal matchup, but not the worst either. 4.0 on DK, 3.8 on FanDuel. But if you're playing 50-50s and stuff, I almost say definitely want to play this guy. And in any cash format, he's got to be a strong consideration. Starlin Castro against De La Rosa in Coors Field. 3.9 on DK and 3.2 on FanDuel. He's just kind of too cheap for that spot. But on FanDuel, I do also think there's merit to considering Matt Carpenter, who's at second base there now. Against Doug Fister at only 4.3. By comparison, I mean, he's a third baseman on DK, but by comparison, he's over 5K there, so not as interested. But I do love my Yankees and Coors today, and continuing that trend, we got Chase Headley, 3.7 on DK, 3.2 on FanDuel. Never the most exciting play to make, but we're not really after the sexy plays here. We're after the consistent ones that are going to get us some points. And righties against Jorge De La Rosa in Coors Field is a very nice, safe, well-traveled path to that. So I like Headley there. There's also Jake Lamb, who hit another home run last night. It's just kind of a baller in general. Gets Kenta Maeda, which is also not an ideal matchup, but Maeda's been pretty inconsistent this season. 3.8 on DK and 3.1 on FanDuel. Games in Arizona, so I always like hitting there. It's almost as good as the Coors Field advantage. Make sure this guy's in the lineup before you put him in there, but Javier Baez against Gio Gonzalez. I hope that Chicago will have a better day against Washington than they did yesterday, which, I mean, they can hardly miss. I had some Chicago-Washington game stacks that did not go so well, but oh well. Anyway, Baez is 3.4 on DK and 3.0 on FanDuel. A nice kind of bargain option to help you fit in some of these other guys, plus the expensive pitching you're probably going to want. And then there's Brandon Crawford going up against Matt Garza, who is kind of being hailed as the next coming of batter matchup priced. I don't know. Everybody is all over this. Oh my God, Matt Garza is pitching. Whatever. I like some lefties against him, specifically Crawford, who's 3.7 on DK and 3.3 on FanDuel. And then FanDuel's kind of tossing us another special here, and that's Corey Seager against Bradley for only 3,600. So it's just a great price for a really talented player, even though it is kind of the most expensive of my 3 recommendations. So you really can't go too wrong with anybody in the Coors Field outfield today. That being said, I actually do not like the way Beltran matches up. Just kind of interesting because he's been really, really hot. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. But he's also really expensive, so I personally am not too interested in him. My first recommendation would be Parra. Lefty on righty matchup. Parra's price is still hanging out way too low. 3.9 on DK, 3.2 on FanDuel. Just too low a price for this game and this matchup not to jump on it. And on the other side, my favorite pick is Ellsbury. He's 4.8 on DK and 4.1 on FanDuel. If you can get Carlos Gonzalez, if you can get Blackman, if you can get Gardner in there, go for it. Those are all great plays too. These are just my favorite of that bunch. And then, he didn't do too well, but not too badly yesterday. So I'm still going back to David Peralta. Again, Kenta Maeda is not the most ideal of matchups, but Peralta against a righty in the desert is good enough for me, especially when he's only 3.4 on DK and 2.5 on FanDuel. And then if you really need some savings, which you might because there's expensive pitching out there, one of the cheaper outfielders that I like the most is Joey Rickard. He gets Price, which is not a good matchup, but in the 3 at-bats he's had with him so far, he has a hit and a walk, 3 plate appearances, I should say. So, nothing sample-wise to go on there, but Rickard is pretty new to the league, I think. Regardless, 2.9 on DK and 2.5 on FanDuel is a great price, and he otherwise matches up pretty well with David Price. So if you're looking to save, that's my favorite under 3K spot. And make sure you come on by the tailgate, slurv.com. It's free to sign up. You can chat with me and Max and Adam and everybody else on the Slurv team and that's hanging around talking baseball. And then make sure that there's no expert chat today, but make sure you come back later to check out the rundown as part of our Slurv Premium content that will just kind of summarize all the best things for you in one spot. Of course, later on today, there will also be a Dong Finder article where I highlight the best home run plays from my model designed to seek home runs. Once again, I'm Steve. This is Slurv. It's been Cash Game Cornerstones for June 14th. Good luck tonight, guys.